Hey, y'all, time for today's Rangers game memory, and we're going to go back to a game from 2004. I watched this game, and I was really young, and I was still at the age where, the Rangers go down by a lot. I'm not necessarily eager to flip channels. We also didn't have as many options back then, I'm sure. But I was, a young, naive, in it for, from the first pitch to the final out Rangers fan. And I'm very thankful on this particular day. I'm sure I wasted a lot of time in games the Rangers were never going to come back in when I could have been reading a book or making myself smarter in some capacity. I never really took that path, at least not then. I certainly don't now. I mean, I'm working the game, so I'm not just bailing out. But this was a particular game that I'll always remember. The Rangers were playing the Tigers. The Rangers actually off to a really good start in 2004. This was the year they had that big win over the A's in September on the David DeLucci walk-off. They fell just short of making the playoffs. But the Rangers got up 4-2 in the second inning, and then they fell behind 6-4 through 4 innings. Then in the fifth inning, the Tigers put on just an offensive demonstration, scoring 8 runs. So at the end of the top of the fifth inning, they go up 14-4. Game over, right? Well, I remember Craig Monroe made the final out to the top of the fifth inning, and he popped out. Jay Powell was the pitcher, and I remember it might have been Tom Grieve in the bottom of the fifth inning right away said that would rub him the wrong way if he was on the other side. Your team just scored 8 runs. You're batting for the second time in the inning, and you get visibly frustrated because you popped out. And that might be something that would motivate the other team. So I'm thinking, all right, hey, maybe. Well, I think the first 10 Rangers reached base safely in that inning. And there were some home runs in that inning. They had a couple. I think Herbert Perry hit a home run. I'm looking here. Mike Maroth gave up a home run to Hank Blaylock. But the Rangers strung together a ton of hits. So if you want to know the Rangers lineup, Michael Young, Hank Blaylock, Alfonso Soriano, who went 6 for 6 in that game, Herbert Perry, Mark Teixeira, Brian Jordan, Eric Young Sr., Kevin Mensch, and Gerald Laird. So those were the hitters in that game. You also had pinch hit performances or appearances from Lance Nix and David DeLucci, as well as Brad Fulmer. But the Rangers come back. After falling behind 14-4, they put up 10 runs in the bottom of the fifth inning. They then fall behind in the sixth, tied up in the seventh, and then they walk it off in the bottom of the 10th inning. The Rangers got an RBI single from Michael Young off of Ugueth Urbina, who spent time with the Rangers, as you might remember. But it was an incredible game. Not only did they come back from a 10-run deficit, but then they ended up winning in walk-off fashion in extra innings. Just what a crazy game. And I remember a few years later when I finally met Tom Grieve, I asked him about the Craig Monroe pop-up. And I think, if I'm not mistaken by that conversation to this day, still believes that might have given the Rangers a little extra motivation to come back and do what they did. Just some fun things to consider in that game. On the Tigers roster, in their starting lineup, Pudge Rodriguez. He was their catcher for that particular game. Other former, and in this case, a future Ranger, Carlos Pena, who had played for the Rangers prior and would play for the Rangers later on as well. Carlos Pena on that team. Craig Monroe, who had some time with the Rangers, a part of that Tigers team. Again, Alfonso Soriano went 6 for 6, and the Rangers fell behind 14-4, tied it up at 14, and ended up winning 16-15 in 10 innings. That's my Rangers game memory for today right here on 105.3thefan.com.